Okay, I'm here in New York City in the Glam media offices, and I'm here with Amir Arora. He's actually the original initial investor in Glam, and he's now CEO. So Amir, thanks for having me in your office.
Thank you for coming.
You just announced Brash.com, the new men's network. So why now? Why did you launch a men's network?
I think to really answer the question, you have to look at the strategy of Glam and how we've grown since launch and what's led to the launch of a men's-focused network, which is Brash.com network that we announced yesterday. If you think about how Glam originally launched, the idea being how do you help brand advertisers come to the internet in display and then over time video advertising. We specifically chose women as our first target market because we felt women are over 80% of the spenders in the US, and sooner or later the ad dollars would follow where the spending power was. After 4 years of focusing on women in multiple channels, what we realized was in several channels like entertainment, for example, there are movies that are very women specific, there are movies that are very men specific, and there are movies that are family or adult or cross-gender. Given that, what we realized was that we were ready to really also start focusing separately on the men's demo, and that led to the creation of the completely new side of the business, which is Brash.com network.
What's the better demographic? Which demographic gets a higher CPM?
Actually, it really depends by channel. So if you take, for example, the women demo 18 to 49, and then even more specifically mid-20s to 40s, fashion is of course a very high CPM, high ticket item, so it usually follows that. The luxury channel, which cuts across lifestyle, living, home, is also a high CPM for women. Mm-hmm. But if you go over to the men's side, what you'll find is there exist several channels or categories which are also high CPM. Notably in the past you've had high level of finance. If you look at luxury cars, for example, or even these days, if you think about the launch of green vehicles, mm-hmm. eco cars, those are considered brand advertising based channels. So I think the way to look at it would be not to necessarily follow the high CPM dollars, but first thing to look at would be what's the highest and the highly coveted audience, what channels or contexts do they exist in, because in those channels or context is where advertisers are going to try to reach them. And the third one would be really looking at brand advertisers from mass to premium to luxury, mm-hmm. is how they want to package and reach those audiences.
How are you packaging your men's channel to reach the audience? And so I guess said in another way, what do men want?
That's really interesting, because when we started Glam, we had posters of the movie What Women Want, if you remember. Not a very good movie, but the title was very, very nice. We don't have posters of what men want around the office right now. But I think that sentiment is very, very true. And the way we approach it, and I think also having been at Glam and having learned and grown this business from inception to now being number one in women, and we recently entered the top 10 media properties list last week of Comscore with 52 million unique visitors in the US. What we learned was the way to look at this is start with the audience first, because that's how advertisers and product managers and product marketing people look at things. Is first they look at who would be a user or potential spender or buyer of what I've created. Very quickly, however, once you have the audience identified, what we really look at is what we consider passion groups. We find passion groups, which is the mode of entertainment, is one of the best intersections of finding an audience that is receptive to advertising. I think one of the criteria that is forgotten on the internet are the lessons not learned fully from television, why people TiVo television, is that it's really, really important to look at where advertising is desirable. And just like when we talk to women, and especially when we were starting the company, it was very simple, very easy to understand that a magazine like a Vogue or a Elle is a break, and the advertising is as important as the content.
Sure.
When you say the same thing to men, the first reaction you would get is most advertising is not desirable, but actually if you ask them the same questions the right way, the answer would be the same. For example, if you love sailing, if you like cooking, if you like cars, advertising is very desirable for men as well. So what we do is we really look at what categories or passion groups would men find desirable, because those are the areas where brand engagement would be highest. So
would you be more, name, like, really quickly, the passion areas then? Sports, business?
The passion area, there's a large number of passion areas, first of all, for men. And the ones Glam is choosing is really for a combination of reasons. One is to sequence passion areas as close to our area of expertise. So given that, the ones we are launching with are the following 5. The first one, of course, is lifestyle. And given our position in the market in women, living and lifestyle, we think that will be an anchor for Glam in the men's space. The second one is entertainment. Entertainment has now become one of our top areas in Glam.com's network as well. So we feel that in the women's side of entertainment is so big, as a passion group is very big for men already, and will be a very important channel for us. The third one is tech, which is gadgets, technology, computers, televisions, and of course audio, which is a very large passion area for men. And then the fourth one that we're launching with is auto, and then the fifth one is of course news. So there are a number of magazines out there. I'm going to start with the men's magazines like Esquire, Maxim, GQ, Playboy. Which ones do you think you're more like, or how are you different from them? How are you going to get that audience? That's a really good question, because if you go back to Glam, when we started, making things accessible was very, very important to us for women. And I think it has really paid off, because there's a real drive towards the high-low mix. Women feel that they have not always been, connected to at the level that they want to be. So Glam choosing this idea of really making things accessible was very important. If you look in the magazine world, you've got the high-end magazines, and then you've got InStyle magazine and other magazines. Clearly Glam did not want to go after or position ourselves as going after a Vogue on the women's side. That was not the audience that we were really after. If you parallel that on the men's side, what we found interesting was that there were a very small set of men's style magazines. Then there was a group of what they call the laddie magazines, like Maxim, etc. And then it starts going into very specific categories like sports, fitness, etc. So what we found was men's categories were already a lot more niche in magazine, and that is a good thing. So I don't think there's a particular magazine that we're directly targeting in terms of what we'd like to bring over. What we are doing is we don't want to be in the laddie group, because we think it's a very small niche from an advertising perspective. And that's what if you notice, the website is very affluent, high level. It has great emotional attributes of Change the Game as a campaign we're launching with Brash. We're highlighting the Brash 50 Hall of Fame, which are men that were bold and brave that changed the world. We also created a Brash 100 list. So, given we're very, very good at brand creation ourselves as Glam.com, the goal of Brash was to really create an emotional, evocative, hip, and a new brand that is not necessarily displacing a magazine, but again, finding a very, very important audience that today most people are not targeting on the web well. Okay. Wish you the best of luck with that magazine. Well, not magazine, with Brash and
with
online,
Brash TV.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thanks so much.